Great gospel today. The Good Shepherd. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep, and they know me. He is no hired hand. He is no thief or robber that benefits from a flock that is not truly his own. So, very straightforward message. All I want to do today as a result is modernize it. I want to science it up just a little bit. Don't worry, just a little bit. Because, in effect, Jesus is making a distinction between two things: himself and false prophets. A good shepherd or a good servant, and a thief or a robber or a hired hand. With a little bit of imagination, it's the difference between a parasite and a symbiote. You all know what a parasite is. Parasite is an organism that lives within another organism, and it does not give anything back to its host. So amoebas, tapeworms, lampreys, and bedbugs, they're all parasites. There are no benefits to having any of those things. No one ever says, oh, hey, you got some bedbugs. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy that. No one ever says that. It's bad. It's always bad. Some people, when they hear the word parasite, think of an especially messy breakup with an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend. And some people, when they hear the word, think of that person in your project group that contributed nothing to the big presentation of the semester. All of those are valid answers. They're the hired hands, the thieves that Jesus was kind of alluding to, the people that see a flock that is a people, a group of people, and see very little more than opportunity. Most of them are harmless. Some of them are mostly harmless. A few of them are quite dangerous. But the thing is, a community, an ecosystem, it can handle a parasite or two. One parasite doesn't cripple the entire environment. But even so, those folks will never give anything back. That is what makes them parasites. You may not know what the word symbiote means. It's Greek. It means to live together. So a symbiote is an organism that lives within another organism and depends upon it, just like a parasite, but now it gives something back in exchange for what it takes. So for instance, we have bacteria in our digestive system that we cannot survive without. So is that bacteria feeding off of us? Yes, technically I suppose that's true, but we're getting something out of the deal. Therefore, they're not parasites. Clownfish and anemones, I hope I pronounced that right, they have a symbiotic relationship. We learned that from Finding Nemo. And let's not forget the clear-cut example of flowers and bees. Okay. Different beings living together. And they're better together than they are apart. That's what symbiosis is. And that's what makes a good shepherd or a good servant. It's a community that's stronger and healthier because they are a part of it. But there's a complication making that happen, because people can be stubborn. Hopefully we can all agree on that. We can be stubborn and slow to trust at times, which means when something new is introduced, we can sometimes be afraid that it's more of a parasite than a symbiote. We worry. We worry about another mouth to feed. We worry about a bold leader because they might damage the community by excessively risky decisions. And we worry about a meek leader because they'll damage the community by not fighting for it when the time is right. We worry about parasites that don't give back, just like the people in Jerusalem. Because you know what? They saw Jesus coming, and they knew he was special. They knew he was one of a kind. If you read the Gospels, those details are not in dispute. They knew he was unique, but they knew he was risky. To follow Christ was a risk, and people were afraid that Jesus would do more damage than good to the people of Israel as a parasite would do. Obviously, Jesus is not a parasite. No good shepherd is. No true servant is, because they give back. Does a good shepherd benefit from the flock? Absolutely, that's part of the deal. Nothing wrong with that. There is nothing sinful in that if they give back to the community, back to the flock. That is non-negotiable. A community will only gain and become stronger when it has servants who are concerned for the good of the entire group. That is huge. And that, when you boil it down, that's what discipleship is. That's the life that Christ wants for all of us. A symbiotic relationship between the individuals and the community as a whole. So in simpler terms, that means that you should get something from the church, but you should also give back to the church in exchange. And it doesn't really matter whether that's financial contributions, volunteer hours, or your simple prayers, because you know that a hired hand or a thief or a robber isn't going to do any of that. I got one more subtopic before we move on today. Sometimes we take symbiotes for granted. Sometimes we don't appreciate them until they're gone and we see a decline in our wellness. Sometimes we have to protect the things that depend upon us that can't protect themselves. So, if you look out the window and you see a world in decline, ask yourself, what spiritual symbiote has recently been removed from the ecosystem? Praying in public? Appreciating time with family? A list of possible answers is near endless. Or if you like, ask yourself, what spiritual parasite is right there underneath the skin, draining our strength a little bit day by day? That could be good old-fashioned greed and love of money. It could be all the violence and foulness that just seems to be coming at us from every angle. Again, many, many possible answers. Those are good questions to ask. I don't think there's an obvious black and white answer out there, but those are good questions to ask. And I am going to end on a message of hope here. Symbiotes can always be reintroduced to an ecosystem. And parasites can be destroyed and removed once they're identified and located.